Hello and welcome back. Today we have the man who's done it all. He's managed to track down someone who recently was unknown to the police. Well, not really the police. He was very known to the police, but he was unknown to be a criminal to the wider world. Obviously, unfortunately, due to certain laws, we're not able to prosecute him. But I'm sure he'll be fine. But of course, it is good that we have managed to get enough evidence, because possibly now we can appeal some sort of things, and possibly one day he will be able to face his punishment. So this is the man who managed to track down Freddie Thompson and all sorts of other people. So how are you doing? And how do you feel? Well, I mean, I feel okay. I mean, sometimes it's interesting because you don't really tend to get invited to a lot of shows or a lot of talk places because people aren't very interested in true crime. Yeah. Well, we're very interested in true crime here. I mean, I myself, I'm a proud follower of that sort of thing. I've listened to all your episodes on Freddie Thompson and the most recent one as well. So what will be your thoughts on your third mystery? Because you haven't done many of these really so far, have you? No, I haven't. It's really been it's been an interesting experience, really. I mean, Freddie, it took us a lot of time. It does take a lot of time because there's a lot of. I mean, I tend to be working on other projects because you can't really spend most of your time on this because you're not. I mean, you're researching all that, so you spend every evening going over where Freddie might be or all these sort of things. But we did manage to track him down, but it did take a long time. So obviously that meant that the whole thing wasn't out for quite some time. I think it took us we were actually almost finished, actually. We were almost finished. As you know, recently we recently enough we actually uncovered the evidence that managed to bring the story to an alright end. Really, it wasn't a happy end, obviously, because I won't spoil it, but It wasn't a delightful end. The stories where they try to make it delightful that the person survives. I mean, it's a person surviving. I mean it's a good thing. But you're playing it as if this person has been mentally scarred. And that's what a lot of people were alongside here. Some of his family. Luckily not as many of his family are actually mentally scarred, but it's a risk that's always there, and I think it's a risk that a lot of time people don't consider. That people can be affected like this. From this sort of area. Yeah, I mean, like I've studied myself, and the most recent one obviously came here, that we're talking to us, because you uncovered this. Now, it was a little bit quicker, wasn't it? Yes, it was far quicker this time because, well, really, this time there wasn't really much to investigate because it was all in the past, so most of the things that had happened had already happened, so there was a bit of delays now and again, but most of the time you could actually get through things. It was one of those things where it's a lot faster yet because a lot of things have happened, so you just need to find this information and then you can move forward. So just find out what's going to happen next. And then do it, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, your first one was a bit slow, I have to say. It was a bit slow, if I'm being honest. I thought, that you might want to, make it a little bit faster, you might want to edit it a little bit better. But, I understand that at the time, you wanted to get the full story, and you didn't have much editing time, did you? Well, no, because really, editing time wasn't a big thing, because we didn't really have the ability, for the amount of time that was being invested, the editing time would have taken quite a bit, Like I'm not sure how many episodes it came to be or how long it was in total, but obviously the main editing really, well, what happened there was just in telling the story, just telling the story of what happened. We just didn't record as much because that also saved on recording space, which meant that we didn't have to, we were getting close later on to reaching the recording space maximum on our device, but luckily we managed to keep it, below what was too much. So that was good. Yeah, I mean, you have a history of having these sort of things where you don't especially have a liking for these sort of things where people are well, in need of trouble and they're not helped. So you do a lot of them. You don't do a lot of mystery stuff where you just talk to stuff that have already been solved, do you? Well, no. All of our stuff are our original tales. So, they're not. You won't find other people doing podcasts on those people, and if they do, that they might do them after us. But at this moment, I don't think it's really big enough to warrant that. Yeah, I mean, I only actually have to admit now, all these presenters are always like, oh yeah, I watched your movie. It's like, no, you didn't. The movie got like 100 viewers. You definitely didn't. No, I have to admit now, I didn't actually listen to the podcast, the first one, until after the second one came out, because obviously it mentions the whole area where I am, and sure, we wanted to do a bit of peace on it, so we obviously here you are. So obviously I just admit now, I'm not one of those people who are like, oh yeah, I watched your piece. And when it came out, no, I watched it afterwards. So not many people would really know of you at this moment. No, not many people would know. It's I wouldn't say it's one of those things which is definitely bad. Yeah, so it's not hard, is it? Well, it can be a bit hard when it comes to things like budget and timing and all this sort of stuff, because obviously with projects, if you're not that big, then you can't oftentimes do full-time projects. A lot of the time, projects have to be sidelined. Luckily, we most of our workers are actually all of our workers work during the daytime as of this moment. They might change to nighttime at any moment. But luckily, as of this moment, all of our workers are, of course, with the whole, working the old day shift. So they're obviously out for work and sleep and all that sort of thing for I'd say around maybe from 8, 9 o'clock in the evening to around maybe 4, 5, definitely around 5 o'clock for the day. So there's a small window, and then obviously there's other jobs that might need doing. Pretty much, I think most of our worker jobs where you don't. There's a little bit of a penalty if you haven't got work done. They get paid a wage, so they don't get paid. They get paid for the job done realistically, rather than the actual time work. And obviously the job takes a long time, and obviously if you are delayed, sometimes it can take you the whole day. So we had to take some days where we were able to do things, but we had the people to go to and interview, but we didn't have people to go to anyway. We didn't have people to go to them, if you know what I mean. So yes, it was in some cases it was difficult to do that. But obviously that was for both of them. Luckily for the Northern Ireland one, actually, it was easier because it was done a little bit quicker. We had to take a good bit of time slotted out for the first season, because that was just the way it was, but for the second one, for the Northern Ireland one, we were able to do most of it. I think we had to take a little bit of break now and again, but most of it was done quite quickly, so you've been recently going about the place and you've been thinking, what happens next? What do you do next? So, what are you thinking next? Well, we are looking through the coffers. Now and again, sometimes you just take the first one because, you do have to think about, because it's all well and good just choosing the most entertaining story, choosing the most, aspiring story, choosing the most amazing story. But what about the stories that, well, have a message, show the suffering of others, educate in a way where you're not really educating the way you're more like reinforcing the education you already have, and that's something which really, it really inspires me personally. So, for the last point, I want to ask you. So, would you ever return here to do another one of these? Around us. I hate to be greedy or anything like that, and I hate to be pushing figures and all that sort of stuff. But if your figures were high for that particular series, I think yes, we probably would. But of course, currently, creatively, we wouldn't be, because creatively, at the current moment, it's not really one of the kind of things we'd be doing at this point in time. But yeah, I think yes, we might. Yeah, well, I'm sure people would love to have that, or maybe not. Sure, what do I know? So basically, we're going to ask you one quick question, one final question. And when you are working on these things, so what do you think of the fact that you have sort of, you're in this position whereby all of these crimes that happen, and you don't really, I don't mean to offend you, but you don't really do enough of them. You're not spending all this time just looking at the crime, solve it. How would you respond to that? Well, I don't know. At this point in time, the issue is time, really, because a lot of the time, if you're able to have all these things done in the time that you have, then that's great. But if you don't, then it can get a little bit overwhelming, and it can get a little bit, dangerous, because sometimes you just don't have the time, and you set yourself the time, and you go, oh, okay, we'll get it done this time. And at the end of the day, you can't. And in some cases, it really does lead to like very, very high amounts of failure. Sometimes you think you'll do an entire thing in two, and then it'll take you, loads more, and then it just kind of gets at you and all this sort of thing. And from a final question, what would you say when people say your efforts are childlike? Well, actually, I've been asked that before. The thing is, if you think of this as childlike, it's kind of your choice, I guess, to view things in a certain way. But whatever you view things as, you can view what you like. I might think that something that you like is childlike, but it may not be for children, which you could argue a show where people die, in some cases miserable innocent deaths, is for children. No, I understand what you mean by childlike, and you don't mean it's for children, in which case a lot of content is childlike. Yeah, it's just it's questionable which is which. Anyway, thank you for being there with me. And thank you for being with me. In the next video, we'll be looking at other things. So please, if you liked the video, or you didn't like it, or you just want to show support, because if you want to be a helpful person, or a nice person, you know, depending on your pick. Or maybe you want to be both. You can subscribe to each channel. That helps, as actually does viewing other videos that you might like if you didn't like this one. And if you like this one, sure, they might be similar to this in your liking, or they might be better, you know. And there might be new videos you like if you don't like the videos that we have now. If you don't view other videos and you know you're not going to view them in the future, well, I guess, you know, enjoy the rest of your existence. And, well, I guess I'll say goodbye. Yeah, bye.